well. The owner of the tour will join us a little bit later, but um, I've been out here watching Josh, and it's amazing. We're amateurs at the very amateurs with a capital A, maybe a double capital, and but it's pretty cool seeing see these girls here trying to fulfill a dream of theirs.
Right. It is cool, and seeing how good they are is just. I mean, saying they're good is an understatement. It's not the LPGA, but it's amazing. How good they are at their craft. So it's and it's good to have a professional event in Abilene. So
Right. And I want to encourage you as we continue through the show, and we'll talk about it today. Again, round 3 today. These girls that have made the cut, they're going to try to win this thing. And for some of them, it's no different than the PGA Tour, the LPGA Tour. You make the cut. Now you may be out of it. You can't win. But how many moving day is today, as they call it on tour? How far can I go up, and what kind of money can I make today? And so that this weekend, so they'll be doing that. So I want to encourage you today at 2:00. Maybe you get off early or whatever at 2:00 here at Abilene Country Club on the south, which is the old Fairway Oaks course. There'll be a party around hole 16. Come hang out, watch the girls hit into not quite an island green. Is that a peninsula?
I guess
As they'll be hitting into that, there'll be food, drinks, all the things. Come hang out and join us today here at Abilene Country Club on the south. Want to dive in really quick, and we'll talk more about it when the girls join us as our Big Country Electric Bytown segment. But want to talk about just a real big shout out to Big Country Electric and the folks that have gone through, and the folks in Rotan and all the storms that came through. We know people's houses. Unfortunately, another tornado that went through Matador, taking the lives. I know of at least 3 folks just a week after the Perryton tornado, and so it's been a weird weather season the last couple of days.
well, it has. What's interesting is, I mean, it's been terribly hot, obviously, and then every day there's some sort of storm somewhere in the area, and it's just kind of a matter of if you're, well, depending on the outcomes, I guess, right place or wrong place at the
Right.
right time. So
All those that are rebuilding, repairing, and restoring. We are thankful for those linemen again. Big Country Electric, Taylor Electric, all those are called across the state that have been helping. Definitely thoughts and prayers for you guys as rebuild and move forward. But want to dive into our Lawrence Hall headline report. Josh, there is so much to talk about. Real quick, the NBA draft was last night, and first of all, I thought about this, and I sent you another text. We'll talk about that later. That came to me this morning. But the NFL draft and the NBA draft, it never fails. You always wonder who their stylist was. Some of the stuff that these guys wear to the award show, if you will, cracks me up. But last night, the NBA draft took place. And the reason I thought of you is in the Major League Baseball, nobody even knows these guys for the most part.
for the most part, no.
There's not a TV show. There's not anything where, hey, here comes Al Leiter's kid walking down on the red carpet with some weird outfit. They just get draft class, finding their way, and we don't know about. Last night, the NBA draft, first round, Victor Wembanyama was no shocker, generational talent. The Spurs land a big fella again. David Robinson, Tim Duncan, all led to be rookies of the year, all led the Spurs to a championship. And last night, there's a lot of folks, if you're a Spurs fan, thinking this 7'5" point guard skilled player is going to be the difference maker for the Spurs.
Yes, and he was, like you said, the unequivocal first talent. Everyone knew he was going to go. Then, and he's been playing professional basketball, I guess, in France,
right?
And making the move over here, and it's we have a history, I guess, in Texas of that with Dirk and Luca not going 1-1, but being those guys from Europe that came over here that just instantly just picked it up where they left off, and playing in professional basketball from Europe. But this guy, he obviously looks to be the real deal. We'll see how it plays out.
Right, and then going number 2, Brandon Miller, the Alabama controversial guard. I hope he learned from Ja Moran that you don't mess around with guns, because when you do, bad things can happen. And so, NBA draft last night, the Mavs in a trade end up getting Derek Lively, the 7'2" center from Duke. He'll be a new Mav. A couple of other things that happened in the NBA. I mentioned the John Moran getting a 25-game suspension. We thought it was going to be the year, went down to 25 games, but he is suspended. A couple other things that happened. Mike Dunleavy, the new general manager of the Golden State Warriors, they are going to be having Chris Paul being traded to them. And then Draymond, they give up. Jordan Poole is going to the Wizards, and Draymond Green declined his option. So we'll see if he ends up coming on board, and Bradley Beal, the Phoenix Suns. The other thing, and we'll talk more about it last night, the College World Series, Josh. The College World Series reminded me this morning of the XFL, in that if you've not been watching the XFL, you missed out on some pretty fun football. At times it was a little rough, but it was fun to watch once you watched it. If you've not been watching the College World Series, it's been actually entertaining to watch. But you just got to know that it's on, because everybody's so busy. The reason I compared it to the XFL is in the XFL, everybody's doing everything else because it's not football season. Well, right now, everybody's watching Little League Baseball. They're going to galas. They're going to the rooftop. They're going to Potosi Live. And so you're like, oh, the College World Series is on. And then you look last night, and Tommy Tanks hits a 2-run bomb to send it to a SEC, which people probably don't like, but it's an SEC championship, just like football is. LSU and Florida will be playing for the whole thing.
Right. It is the all SEC thing, which is not I think the greatest. It limits the fan base a little bit, having just teams from that conference in that area of the country. But for all the talk of SEC football being head and shoulders above other conferences, SEC baseball really is. I mean, they are in just a league of their own. So it's fitting that two teams from that conference made it to the finals. And you were talking about watching those games. Sometimes it's kind of hard that they play a lot of games during the week while you're at work.
It's like March Madness.
Yes,
You've got an 11 o'clock game that you need to know if it's on, and then if you don't pay attention, you may look and realize I'm watching a game that's already happened. and so that's a great replay. But so the College World Series Finals is up. The championship is set. LSU and Florida. Moving on to happen since then, we talk a little golf. We are here at the Abilene Country Club South Course. Last week, the U.S. Open came down to two guys. We thought Ricky Fowler in the orange might prevail, but he did not. Wyndham Clark wins his first major, winning the U.S. Open by one stroke over Rory McIlroy. A couple of interesting notes about that. Rory's first tournament win was at Quail Hollow. Wyndham Clark's first win, Quail Hollow. Rory's first major, U.S. Open. Wyndham Clark, first major, U.S. Open. And so it was an enjoyable tournament. It was a lot of fun watching a 297-yard par 3 that I would have to hit driver maybe to get there. Again, Wyndham Clark wins it. He never faltered. He had chances to falter. He had one shot that was embedded. He hit it, barely hit it, and got it out. Never really made any mistakes. And Rory didn't play bad. Just Rory didn't make enough birdies, but it was a good U.S. Open. I really did. I thought it was a great U.S. Open again.
Sorry, I got distracted. I'm very easily distracted anyway. But the guy just went flying by on a really fancy looking lawn going very fast, and it distracted me.
Well,
I was looking out the window,
and that's what happens. That's what happens here when you're on the road. And so, and then the Travelers, they move on, and what's really cool, Wyndham Clark wins the U.S. Open and heads on over to Connecticut in the Travelers Championship happening. Denny McCarthy is leading that at 10 under, followed by Eric Cole at 8 under. Denny McCarthy is the golfer that lost in the playoff to Victor Hovland at the Memorial. So Denny McCarthy looking for his first win. Others looking for their first win today at the Mackey Construction Golf Tournament here at Fairway Oaks. We got phones ringing. We got people driving by in golf carts and lawnmowers and all the things. And so a lot more to cover. We appreciate Lawrence Hall and our Lawrence Hall headline report. Go check them out if you need any new car, truck, used, or SUV. Go find them over there. They'll get you taken care of. When we come back, the Texas Rangers, are they this year's Denver Nuggets? Are they this year's Cincinnati Bengals? We'll talk about that as they head into another series. That do we finally eventually just say they're playing baseball and don't have to look at who they're playing? When we come back, our Texas Rangers report right after this.
I really was very distracted by that.
All right, thank you. I'm going to take a break.
I was like, I wonder how much one of those lawnmowers costs. And then you had like kicked it to me, and I was looking out the window at a lawnmower. Like, oh wait, am I supposed to talk? I don't know what the last thing you said was.
Oh gosh, yeah. Let's do this.
Welcome back to the Hodge Pack, sports life and everything in between. We are live from Abilene Country Club on the south side, south course, south side, hanging out here, uh, rocking and rolling with our WAPT Mackey Construction Golf Tournament happening today. Misty is here. We're all here. Misty, uh, how's the ride over? You didn't start driving to the studio, did you?
No, I actually remembered, but I always appreciate the text.
Well,
Good
you never
looking
know
out.
because Josh made a very good point. If your routine is the same, like when there's days where our place where we get our breakfast every day, sometimes the workers don't show, and I'm like, what do I do? Where do I go? What's near me?
We appreciated Waterburger. Like the
I
morning
you know,
we
and I
got
thought about
Waterburger.
that. We up and get Waterburger on board as I don't know, the taquito sponsor of the day. Kick your morning off with what? Kick it off with a Waterburger.
We
How
loved
have they
it.
not thought of that already? Kick your morning off with a what? Kick it off with a Waterburger.
That's actually great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Somebody's going to steal it and make millions. But somebody that's making millions, millions of fans converting and getting away from being nervous are the Texas Rangers, Josh. The Texas Rangers 46-28, 5-5 of their last 10. Last week they were 3-7 of their last 10. So as the Jeffersons say, moving on up, if you will. Nowhere else to move because they are in first place of the AL West. But Josh, so things are going good. We got some Rangers up for real quick on the weekly recap of the Texas Rangers. The Blue Jays, they take 2 or 3 of those, head up to Chicago, play the White Sox. And so, again, 5-5 of the last All-Stars that are up. Opportunity for you as fans and for us to go vote. 18 games above 500, first place. Is this 5-game gap the biggest gap we've had at the top of the leaderboard?
Well, it's the biggest right now of any of the divisions. So their lead is stronger than anybody else's within their competition, which is saying something, especially that I guess how good the Orioles have been in the East to hang in with Tampa Bay, as Tampa Bay still has the best record in baseball. But had a we talk about last week a little bit, like are they playing badly? It's not looking as good. And kind of a little bit of doldrums. But it just so happened that at the same time that was going on, the Astros also had a down week. So they didn't gain any ground. And y'all are like, I don't know.
No, it's funny.
No, he literally just looked at himself and was
trying
like,
to make sure that I didn't have. I wasn't.
yourself out
I was making sure the YouTube. I was making
he's
sure
so
the YouTube.
arrogant.
I was just making sure
He's
the
like,
YouTube.
look at me, I'm Hodge.
No, I was making sure I wasn't showing you goods. It's not that kind of show.
I feel that sometimes.
It's very distracting here. I don't know.
Well, the problem is y'all make fun of me on squirrels. Josh, first of all, Josh is probably one of his, I don't know if fetish is the right word, is yard work. So we're talking, all of a sudden this lawnmower goes by, and Josh might as well have been a bombshell model. Josh all of a sudden just goes into a trance because this lawnmower goes by, and he was already wondering, I wonder how much that cost.
Yeah, it was a riding reel mower. It's like that'd make life a whole
Hey, in
lot
his
easier.
defense, for his land, he needs something like that.
Yeah,
He needs an army. He has a Yellowstone out there. Back to the Texas Rangers.
Completely derailed.
Well, no, we're mowing everything.
Now I'm just thinking about Ryan's goodies and I don't know. It's getting really weird.
Stranger.
I know.
Yeah, goodies. Will go ahead, Josh.
But anyway, as I had many conversations with people, and I think I mentioned it on the air last week. During a baseball season, there's going to be times that things kind of go south for a little while. That collectively people get a little cold, and it gets a little bit more difficult to win games.
Well, and you can compare it to the golf in the world of golf. You're gonna and Wyndham Clark last week. We're still working on her.
No, y'all, I watched it all. Y'all would be so proud. I was so in it.
I was going to talk about playing golf, but I was going to say,
Josh, the US Open.
Well, no, that does make me proud. But Josh and I, we have a lot. All 18 holes will be bad. But for these guys, they may have a bad hole or two, but bouncing back or a bad shot to find a way to get back in and make par. That's what the baseball season can be.
Getting back in the groove and getting things going. And so, anyway, the Rangers have bounced back from that, and came back and won 2 series in a row after having the rough one against the Angels. And really when you talk about even that rough spell for the Rangers where they were 3-7 over a 2-week period, they were in every single game, and in fact in those Angels games had the winning run in scoring position or the tying run in scoring position in all 3 of their losses.
They became the Dallas Stars in some of that week.
Couldn't get it that hit right at the right time.
Yeah,
so
they became the Dallas Stars. You either you were leading and had it, or had a chance to win and didn't finish it. And so, but I wanted to ask you this. And we'll end it with telling our folks to go vote for the All-Stars.
Yes.
But you mentioned it's a long season, and they're third best record in baseball. And when I look at them, I asked you in the text, are they the Cincinnati Bengals with Burrow, where at some point everybody just assumes it's the Bengals will end up falling? The Bengals went on a run. The Bengals went to a Super Bowl. Then I even thought more, can they not be the Denver Nuggets in that, yes, you need to be later in the year and in the playoffs and they're making the run, But to me, the Texas Rangers can be this year's Denver Nuggets. And you've got a guy like Corey Seager. You've got a good surrounding cast with him, supporting cast. They can be a team that can win the World Series. And the other reason that this thought came to me is you've got the Yankees. Yes, they're not the Rays, but they are still the New York Yankees on the road. We talked about how the Astros series earlier in the year was an important one for the Rangers. Mm-hmm. When do these become not important and just you're the third best team in baseball, go win?
We have gotten to that point in the season where the general consensus, and if you listen to national media, they're no longer talking like, well, the Rangers are going to kind of fade out. If you remember the first of the year, Pittsburgh was winning the National League Central and out of nowhere and was playing well, and there was a lot of hype and excitement with that, and the Rangers were kind of also in on that, but not, I guess, as surprising and everything as Pittsburgh. And the national media was all like, okay, they'll fade. They don't have the staying power. They don't have the roster, and they were kind of like that with the Rangers as well. Now, since then, Pittsburgh has faded. They've gone back to kind of just they've got some.
Oh, they've tumbled.
Yes, and so they've got some players
to say that the pirate ship is sunk, but it's close.
But they've got some players to be excited about still. Some young guys that are. But the Rangers have gone the opposite way. Like when you listen to that national media, when you see them brought up on MLB Network or ESPN, generally it's in the positive, and you can see that's carrying over because of the All-Star votes. Which
we'll get to those in a minute. A couple things I do want to. We'll do that now. You mentioned the NL Central. The Reds have come out of nowhere.
Yes.
And I want to mention this because I can say it because he put it out on Twitter. One of the biggest Cincinnati Red fans is Kirk Herbstreit. And Kirk Herbstreit had posted this week on Twitter, his son Zach was put in the hospital for a heart condition. He since has been able to come home and start to recover. But I reached out to Kirk and said, hey, we're praying for you. And he appreciated that. So those of you just be praying for Zach Herbstreit. Was playing football. He plays football at Ohio State, but was put in the hospital. And so I read for him, mentioning the NL Central. The other thing about the Rangers, and I want to get it in this, and if we get to the All-Stars, and we have to do the All-Star talk in a moment, can you please explain to me, as our baseball insider, the play at the plate?
Well, there's really not much explanation for it because it was just a terrible call.
That is the worst call I've ever seen. Buster Posey should be mad that was out, or that was safe.
Yes. Well, and then there was another similar one in the San Diego Padres game with Gary Sanchez, just two in the same week, and I think one led to the other because what the official explanation was is that he was set up incorrectly, which the rule of the blocking the plate, the Busty Posey rule, as you mentioned, that it ends the collisions at home. You no longer just try to take the.
Which I understand. That is the helmet to helmet hit in football. That's what they're taking away. I understand that.
It's something that a lot of at the time people are like, oh this that's just part of baseball and everything. But I understand. You don't just want senseless injuries, So the spirit of the rule, I'm 100% with. But then when they get to that particular play, the explanation that was given was that since Jonah Heim was set up to receive the ball, stand with his left foot on home plate, his right foot in fair territory in front of home plate, and apparently. What they're doing now is if you have to set up to receive the ball in fair territory, so no part of your body can be in foul territory.
Here's my deal, and I know we're on. It's going to remind me of when there's a play happening, that catcher getting okay. Am I on the line? Am I good?
Yeah. Well,
I got a play coming. Am I good? That's where I feel like we're at.
So it was like when they watched that, when they sent the replay to New York. Which was the interesting thing is, and even from the White Sox perspective, they're just throwing a Hail Mary. They got a challenge. It's the 8th inning. It's an important run. let's just
I
challenge.
can't
it.
take the red flag home
Yeah,
with me.
Let's just challenge it, just because we, and they did because it was interesting. And I've always hated this with challenges. I think you have to challenge something specific. They were just like, we'll challenge whether he was out or safe, or if the catcher
Like
blocked
all
the
of the
play.
above.
We're just throwing darts.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
a treasure hunt.
yeah.
Oh, we
Yeah.
also found this.
Right. And so, and no, I don't begrudge them for doing so. I mean, like you said, you can't take that challenge with you.
Right.
Might as well use it as important play. But to say that it was because of where Jonah Heim was standing when the throw to set up to take it up, he did not block the play.
No.
He did not impede the runner.
No.
Where he was standing did not affect the runner at all. So
I mean,
it's a dumb rule.
Right.
You can say don't block the plate, and I'm fine with that. But we're going to say this guy's safe because before the throw even got to you, before the runner got there, your foot was standing on the plate.
Right.
Makes zero sense.
We got to go to commercial, but it's the equivalent of the officer. I think you thought you were going to speed, so here's a ticket, even though you didn't speed. When we come back, we'll kick off the All-Star voting, and then we'll talk about Misty's experience with U.S. Open and blowouts, no blowouts, college championships, all the best. We'll be back right after this.
And in the San Diego game, they did the same thing, but
I'm going to take these off.
throw was coming from right field, and Gary Sanchez was in front of the plate, but his right foot was in foul territory as he caught to turn around in anything. But they're now it's and I think that in that San Diego game, I think they challenged it just because that other challenge had been won. But now that's going to be
thing in between. We are live right here at the Hodge Pack at the Potosi Live Studios on a roll, on the road.
On a roll?
On a roll.
We know that was
something you never made.
Yeah, that's something Hodge is not on the honor roll. I was on a roll. I was on the roll of attendance. But we are here at Abilene Country Club live for the Mackey Construction. Again, I want to encourage you to come out here today. You can come out earlier, but starting at 2 o'clock, we'll be having a party around the 16th green. It's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be drinks, there'll be food, and a lot of great golf.
How's it going to be at 2 o'clock? You got
today,
you got a weather
Hot.
update?
Today, not that bad. Maybe in the 90s.
97.
Yeah.
Spicy.
Be good.
About 110.
No, the girls did play in that on Wednesday. Tuesday and Wednesday, it was pretty toasty. And then Thursday was a little bit better than yesterday. We'll see what today is. So, again, B Shin will be on with Kelly Whaley at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour as they get ready for their round 3. And so, real quick, Josh, tell our folks about All-Star voting and how they can help our Texas Rangers make the All-Star team.
Oh yeah, you do need to try to go do that because I'm kind of upset that half of the finalists are Rangers and the other half are Toronto Blue Jays. It seems like when you just have, I guess, with not really fitting finalists, I guess, from the Toronto Blue Jays, the guys that, like, some of them do have some star power, and Bo Bichette's on there, and Bo Bichette has had a very good season at shortstop. He should be an all-star. If you go on the deserving factor, he might actually deserve it more than Corey Seager, even though Corey Seager has been amazing. Corey Seager missed a month, so I could see Bo Bichette being the starter. But I guess the whole country of Canada just went and voted for the entire Blue Jays roster over and over and over again. Because there's only one team in Canada. So there's some kind of ridiculous ones on there. But 5 Rangers did make the finals. You go to the, I don't know, it's MLB.com, and then there's a button that you can click to vote. But we need to go out and do that because I would like to see, especially Josh Young being a rookie and having the season that he has, a very deserving all-star. Adolis Garcia is a finalist, and although his home run numbers has fallen off, his the gunning people out from the outfield has remained top notch, and he's fun to watch. So it would be good to have him in there. And then, as we mentioned, Corey Seager is a finalist. Jonah Heim's really just a breakout season all around as far as like being finally recognized. He was good last year, but this year he's getting the recognition that he deserves. And he's going against Adley Rutschman, who is a very fitting candidate as well. I think numbers wise, Jonah Heim kind of edges him out, but Rutschman with the Orioles has that East Coast thing going his way. Plus, he was a first round draft pick, super right. Prospect. So I mean, I that's going to be a tough one for Jonah to win, but at least he's in the conversation. And then Marcus Semien. He is the best second baseman in baseball, and he should win that runoff. But and then there's some guys in there, like I said, that their numbers don't quite. Vladimir Guerrero is a big name guy. He's not really having that good of a season. I heard today he has not yet hit a home run at home this season, which is a crazy stat.
All the more reasons you need Texas Rangers to leave everybody else alone. And find a way. Vote once, vote often, vote early. And all those things. So Texas Rangers up, opportunity. There's a reason they're in the first place of the AL West is because obviously they have a lot of good players and some that deserve to be all-stars. Now, I want to talk about Misty. You mentioned this, and the question that one of the questions that's open. So give me your thoughts, and then I'm going to throw out the question because I want to tie it back to baseball, golf, and everything that we watch. What was your take of the U.S. Open?
So because I watched Full Swing, I'm basically an expert now in the golf world. But I have to, give them props because that show really kind of made me want to kind of with these specific golfers. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to watch. And saw that it was between, Wyndham and I don't know, props to both of them, but Wyndham had several in the rough down the stretch. Like the last, I can't remember. out of the last 5, I don't know if maybe 2 or 3 were in the rough, and there was one he completely missed. And then Rory comes back. It was so exciting. And I was like, who am I right now? Like, I'm geeking out and nerding out over golf, and Clay too. It was just really funny.
Now, it's funny. Have you ever geeked out on golf, Josh?
I mean, some. I used to watch much more golf than I do now. I just got to where.
Did you watch the U.S. Open?
I did not.
Okay.
Right.
You would have been geeking.
I thought about it, and then I just never got around to it.
And I will tell you, this year's U.S. Open, one of the benefits was that it was here you go, Josh.
No, I was like,
just a gator. He's got one of those. But it wasn't a fancy mower, just a regular gator.
Or a bombshell.
Yeah. Nope, not a bomb. But this year, what was fun about this year's U.S. Open was that it was on the West Coast and teed off later, so you got to watch primetime golf like you would for an NBA Finals game or a World Series game. So I do think that helped some. And it was almost, that's why I've been a big fan of the PGA Tour all year long. And even though Wyndham Clark earlier won that Wells Fargo championship, it was movie-like in that you have her who is trying to win that first major, trying to win again for the long time, stayed back, didn't go to live, and then he was in it. And
leading until
and then it went south on Sunday.
Right. And
then, of course, Wyndham ends up, like you said, Misty, we were talking about baseball. He found a way not to derail. And Rory never derailed. He birdied, but then never birdied again.
Right.
And just missed some putts that didn't fall. And what I want to tie back to this, Josh and Misty, was, would you rather watch high-scoring, bomb after bomb baseball games, or a pitcher's duel that we saw last night with LSU and Wake Forest that ends with a walk-off bomb? The reason is we went and watched the U.S. Open. We got to watch him. Mark Keimer Sunday was worthless. But when Tiger was dominating the Masters, it was impressive because you were watching Tiger, even though there was no chance he was going to win or lose. What do you like watching? Do you like touchdown after touchdown, defensive battle? When it comes to watching games, and golf is different because it's head-to-head right there. What do you enjoy most?
I think I guess it's kind of hard for me to answer that because I went to a couple of Rangers games against Seattle earlier this year, and the first one was the fastest baseball game I've ever seen because John Gray was pitching for the Rangers and Luis Castillo for the Mariners. The Rangers didn't get a hit for 6 innings. The Mariners, I think, on the day got 3 hits total, and the Rangers win a close one. I can't remember if it was 2-1 or 2-0. I mean, it was like a very close, quick game that the Rangers really just put together one inning where they scored any runs, and it was zeros everywhere else. And that was an exciting game because it's close, but I don't know if
I think, but for you understand that more. For the person that's going to watch a baseball game, we're bored out of their mind.
My sons were there, and they were like, boring. Like Barrett was very upset that no one hit a home run.
Right.
And they scored 12 runs, and it was not, they just buried Seattle. It was never close, but my boys thought that was better. So. All right.
And so for you, this past Sunday, you got to watch an intense, close golf tournament that involved that. So
I'm all about the tit for tat. Like, I love the back and forth in any sport that I'm watching. It's probably why I have some gray hair under here, but I just love the intensity of watching it come down to the wire. I love watching. Now, if both teams are bomb after bomb after bomb, okay, because we're still tight. It's still back and forth.
In a football game that ends up being 40-something to 40-something, but it was like one team scored to take the lead, and then the other team scored to take the lead, and then you got to come back and try to,
Right, like I love that. Yeah.
But I think the opposite in the baseball world, as a fan, and I would consider us football fans, as a baseball fan, I enjoy the 0-0, who's going to score that one run, it's going to be enough. But in football, I don't want to watch an 8-6 football game.
No. No.
I don't want to see that because I don't think that's exciting because it's normally 3-and-out stop, this close, maybe missed a field goal, and that's why it's still 0-0. Or they had to settle for a field goal, and it's 3-0. Now it's 6-3. Those are tough to watch.
A 10-8 or 8-6 baseball game, it would be quite a few runs. But as long as it wasn't just kind of, as long as there are those like anticipation moments where like, oh, this game's close and we got a runner on second, we really need a hit, and whether they do or they don't, and that atmosphere, I guess that's the main thing for me as far as like watching a game. As long as it never feels like,
if the room doesn't evaporate, if the excitement of the stadium doesn't go out the door, it's still good.
You've seen games where you could say in basketball, any sport, where you look at the final score and that was kind of close, but if you watch the game, it really never was that close. There was no drama. But I just like the drama. Sorry.
Yeah, I love the drama. I was just gonna say, like with the U.S. Open, if I would have turned it on and I don't know, Wyndham would have been 15 under and Rory would have been 9 under, I probably wouldn't have watched.
Right.
But whenever I started, I was like, ooh, this is getting, they were just a couple strokes away. So it kept me. And then whenever it kept going, hole after hole, I was like, I was like, I'm telling y'all would have been so proud. I was like on the edge of my seat. And then I'm like, who's Wyndham Clark? Like, never heard of this guy.
I think the other thing that helps this is that you start hearing stories about had won $400,000 up until the Wells Fargo, and how that changes, and you start hearing the stories, and you've got Wyndham as Rocky and Rory as the rubber laying, and then you end up getting the championship. And so, put us if you're watching, tweet us or whatever on how do you like what's your best part about a game and the excitement of it. When we come back, we're gonna go open up Misty's bag again. Don't forget to go vote for the Texas Rangers. Let them be on that All-Star team. Let them enjoy that and maybe get a big check. When we come back, we're going to go open up Misty's bag. We'll all be nervous. We'll be back right after this.
I'm getting a crick in my neck from like looking that way at y'all all the time.
Well, stop looking at us.
Stop looking at me.
Stop looking at me. I'm not the lawnmower. You weirdo.
I am going.
Well, you're.
Do what?
Sometimes